Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, we shall see more examples on how to find the absolute value of integer numbers. Let us take an example here. We want to find the absolute value of the number negative of negative 15, like that. In here, the negative sign is one of the negative signs is outside of the absolute value term, and therefore we will keep the negative sign and simplify the absolute value of negative 15. So the way we want to do it is the way we want to write this one is as follows. So we want to write it in steps. Step number 1. We'll keep the negative sign outside, and we're going to simplify the absolute value of negative 15. The simplification of negative 15, the way we started to say is we're going to draw the number line, and on the number line we're going to say we're going to represent the 0 or the origin, and we're going to, on the left hand side of the origin, we're going to represent the number we are interested in, which is negative 15. So 0 is there, negative 15 is right there, and therefore the distance between negative 15 and 0 is 15 units. The distance is always measured in terms of a positive number, not a negative number, and therefore as step number 2, we're going to come back and then say the absolute value of the number negative 15 is 15 units, But if we were to look at the problem, we wanted to find the value for negative absolute value of negative 15. Since one of the negative signs was outside of the absolute value term, we keep the negative sign, and then we found the value of absolute value of negative 15, which is 15 units. So negative 15 is the answer which we're going to, that is how we're going to say it is going to be negative 15 units. That is how we're going to say it is negative 15 units. Let's look at another example. Before we go, let's go to another example. In this example, I want to state something. The absolute value of 0. The absolute value of 0 is going to be 0 units. 0 units. The absolute value of 0 is 0 units. Because if you look at the number line, and if that is 0, and if this is a positive numbers on the right hand side of it, and if this is negative numbers on the left hand side of it, there is no value, it is not on the right hand side or it is not on the left hand side of the origin, and therefore the value what we want to find is right there, and the distance between 0 and 0 is 0 units, and therefore that is the absolute value of 0. Therefore we're going to call it as 0 units. Let us take another example and then see how we can try to represent this number. Let us find the absolute value of a number which is negative of negative 42, like that. Okay, so we keep the negative sign. In this case, it is very similar to the example which we have seen before. We keep the negative sign that is outside the absolute value term, and we're going to simplify the absolute value of negative 42. And how do we do that? We're going to write them down in terms of steps. When we write it down in terms of steps, it is a lot easier to remember them, and therefore it makes it a lot easier to be able to solve them. So the absolute value of negative 4, we draw the number line, and if we say that is the origin, and if we say on the left hand side of the origin are the negative numbers, if I call that as negative 42, and if I were to say what is the distance between negative 42 and 0, the distance between negative 42 and 0 is 42 units. It is 42 units, and therefore the absolute value of negative 42 is 42 units. It is 42 units. And therefore, we're going to put all of this together and then say the absolute value of negative 42 is negative 42 units. Negative 42 units. And that is where we want to leave it. That is our answer. This is where we want to leave it. In my next presentation, we shall see how to place the correct symbol between two integer numbers.